And then we will be saving 10-15 minutes for questions at the end, hopefully more if we can get through the material quickly. So please do use the chat to ask questions throughout, but also know we will have some time live at the end. Today, you'll be hearing from a few team members across the marketing, product, and customer success team. I'm going to let each of them introduce themselves as we move through the information today. But a big thank you up front for all the great work that's being presented today by the team. In the 18 months, it's crazy to think it's been 18 months that we've been offering subscriptions. We've proven that this business model enables us to release new features faster to the suite of products that make up SketchUp and improve it much more quickly than we were able to do before the subscription business model. And you might have noticed through our point releases that we've been focused on delivering updates and polishing up features that are user-friendly and really aim to improve both like the efficiency and usability of our customers' workflows. And when we sat down to think about how we wanted to tell the story of the 2021 release, we thought a lot about this idea of starting projects off with a strong foundation, which includes the tools that our customers are using. And so we're excited to present some of those and show how this really will impact our customers' ability to start projects with a really strong foundation in SketchUp. I'm going to show really quickly the how we got to our new logo and some of the tools you'll notice throughout that were used to model the new mark in SketchUp. Awesome. We're also launching a brand new tool called PreDesign. PreDesign is a new climate research tool that helps users to better understand the local environment surrounding their project before they dive into modeling in 3D. I'm super excited that we have our resident expert here, Andrew, to introduce this to you all today. We're also introducing a new type of object called live components. These are parametrically configurable objects that redraw themselves in real time. Live components is the first feature released under a new program called SketchUp Labs. SketchUp Labs is a community beta program, and Mark's going to share more about how we plan to launch new features through this in the future. Back in 2020, we replaced layers with tags, and that change was part of a wider strategy to provide better model organization for our users. So in 2021, tag filtering and tag folders represent phase 2 of that strategy. During this demo, we'll get to see some examples of how they can be applied practically for users to better manage models in SketchUp and Layout. And last but not least, SketchUp 2021 brings a rebuild of the SKP file format. This is a significant change to our underlying file format, which over time we expect to improve model save performance and make it easier for people using different versions of SketchUp to work together. Next, I want to frame these updates from the perspective of our users. Andrew and Mark are going to
talk through a lot of this as they demo, but kind of to give a high level before we dive into the demo. Tools like PreDesign are going to help users understand what design strategies are useful for their kind of project, allowing designers to explore solutions before the modeling experience even begins. And we think features like live components will increase the efficiency of individual and team workflows for use cases like architectural configuration, space planning, and rapid iteration of concepts. The enhancements to tags makes it easier for customers who maintain large and complex models using large and complex lists of tags and scenes. And then ultimately, we think these updates are going to promote a more user-friendly, efficient workflow, saving our customers time.
I'm going to actually pass it over now to Andrew to dive into PreDesign.
Great, thank you, Sophie. It's nice to meet you all. I don't think I've met many of you, so thank you for joining today, and thanks for the opportunity to present to you what we've been doing. My name's Andrew Corney. I'm the product manager. I'm a product manager at SketchUp that's based in London, and I joined SketchUp as part of Sapphira, which I know many of you have probably heard of, but haven't had the opportunity to sell. And over the past 2 years, we have been trying to look at ways that we can bring some of the ideas about building better buildings to the broader SketchUp market to solve problems that people who don't have a strong background or a background in building physics need to solve, and to help those customers. And if you look at the landscape, the competitive landscape where SketchUp sits compared to, say, some of the other products, we have potentially, I guess, in some regards, not provided a very good product for our customers up till now, to help them with understanding, doing research that understands the climate and understands the context of their site, to help them guide a better design process. So one of the things that we wanted to do was to round out that part of the SketchUp portfolio and provide customers with a product that helped them do better pre-design research, but do it in a way that was very SketchUp-y, and that was therefore easy to use and easy for people to get value from very, very quickly. And so that is sort of like the genesis, I guess, of PreDesign, which is the product that I'm talking about today. PreDesign is going to be a new feature for early stage design research. We've been doing a lot of work on looking at our market, and a huge proportion of our user base self-report as being architects or design practitioners who are working on new buildings or renovation projects. So we wanted to make a product that would be easier to help them with the design research that they need to do at the beginning of the project. So these people are often doing code checks and owner requirement studies at the beginning of a project, but perhaps don't have the tools that they need to be able to understand the climatic impacts of the site on how they should start drawing their project or designing their project in SketchUp. So we have built a web application that provides simple and effective information and graphic information to help these people with that work. And in some ways, for some people at least, it could be a new way to start using SketchUp. I always try to describe the product in terms of how it's going to help our users. So we try to think about our product as almost like a magic flower in Mario Brothers that takes our customer and empowers them to be a better whatever they are, a better practitioner. So I created this diagram in a way that might help you think about how to talk about the product to your customers. We start with an architect who's about to embark on a renovation or a building design. It could be a house extension, it could be a new school or whatever. And combined with the PreDesign product, we're hoping that we can transform that person or empower that person to be embarking on that project, they're armed with how to start, good design strategies, what to do and what not to do, and ways to defend their design ideas. So this is how we're hoping that this product is going to arm and improve the capabilities of our customers. We talk about jobs, and we like to talk about jobs that people do and how we can help them with their jobs and how we can bring value to them through helping them with those jobs. So I've got in this table here for you a few ways that you can talk to your customers about how this product might help them in their work. And we've been running a beta program now for this for over almost a year, for all of this year. And we've been using that beta program to try to understand not just which features we should put into the product, but also how people might get value from the products that we've been developing. So on the surface, the PreDesign, when we do the demo, will help. You'll see that it helps people identify design strategies so that they can build better buildings. They can build buildings that perform better and that work better. But what we found is a big part of that is actually explaining those strategies to their clients and getting their clients to get excited or interested in doing sustainable design or doing better design solutions, or even just adopting the design that they think would be good for the project. And that's often really time consuming for them to do. So this is a way to save time getting those design resolved. Also, we've seen that a lot of customers get started on projects potentially with bad ideas and then have to backtrack on those ideas and change the design later. So we want to help people save money by avoiding potentially reducing the need to do rework later in the project as well. And some people are just looking for a way to add new services or to bring new content to their client presentations. And we think PreDesign is going to give people a way to add services or at the very least save money on existing services. So this is how we're hoping to help our customers, and you'll see more in the demo. PreDesign is not going to be available to all customers. So we made a deliberate decision to make PreDesign part of our Pro subscription at the core, a part of our project Pro subscription bundle, but not part of Classic. So the people that will get PreDesign will be obviously anyone on a trial, Pro and Studio subscribers, enterprise accounts, students who purchase our student product, subscription product, and Sapphire standalone customers. They'll all get access to PreDesign at launch. But shop and free, Classic license holders, M&S and network license holders will not get access. Okay, so this is part of us showing that we're investing in a Pro subscription and we're investing in that bundle and giving people more value for becoming subscribers with us. There is going to be go-to-market support for PreDesign. We're going to be doing a lot of work in terms of email campaigns to people in our database. There will be website updates. There will be user onboarding within the app and a whole lot of help center articles and links within the app to that, and also links within the product to submit support tickets and bug tickets or suggestions for improvement. We'll also be offering partner training on the product in the future, so watch this space. I think there's an interest, there will be a good opportunity for you guys to be able to potentially help certain users learn the product as well. As I mentioned, within the product, we're going to be primarily sending people to help.sketchup.com. There will be a lot of articles written in English only for PreDesign to help you and to help at least some customers answer questions about like how the calculations work, why the information is there, how to use it, what to do with it, etc. And we'll also be leaning on, to some degree, the forums to be a point where we encourage people to raise questions and answer those questions, at least until the user base is at a state where our customers can answer them for us. So we're going to launch with a lot of content available to help you talk to your users or answer questions for your users as well. So without further ado, I'll give you a demo of the product now, and we can have a quick look at what it does. So as I said, PreDesign is a web application. You'll get there by going to predesign.sketchup.com. If you want access to this, it's not live. It's not live for anyone until launch. But if you want to access to the product, you can write to me, and I will sign you up for our beta program, and then you can have access to our beta version of the website. I'll open the Denpasar High, which might end up being one of our demo projects. So we're anticipating that customers will open the product and they will get 3 demonstration projects which have some walkthroughs inside them to help explain how someone would use that project to get value from it. And I'll talk about Denpasar High today. This is a fictitious high school in Bali, Indonesia. And one of the first thing that we wanted to do with the product was to help someone communicate to their client or talk to their client intelligently about the weather around their climate. So you can see here that we take the weather file from Denpasar Airport, and we do hourly analysis on the weather data, break that information into seasons, and provide some storytelling to our customers about how they could talk about the weather in terms of climates, and then in terms of what sort of different seasons as well, and in terms of what different season is like, each season is like. We think this is a really important start because a lot of people don't even know how to get started at all in discussing building performance or like sustainability issues with their clients. And the first step is often to find a common rapport, and that can be the climate. What we do then is the product then gently takes them from that to a next step, which is trying to help them talk about what the impact on the architecture should be as a result of the weather. So in Denpasar, there are 2 very common prevailing conditions. One is this idea that people want to be outside, so it's very nice outside, it's pleasant and warm, and actually people would prefer to be outside or inside. And the other condition that's very common is that it's too hot to be outside. Perhaps it's just simply too hot or too humid or whatever. And so what we do then is we help people tell a story about how the architecture could respond to that, whether it's by taking the inside outside, so building an architecture that uses shading and openings to connect people with the exterior, and potentially have buildings that are very open to the outside. Or an alternative, or sort of potentially a combined response, could be to also, treat the architecture as something that needs to provide shelter from the heat for the users, and lots of shading, limited unprotected glass, potentially cooling systems, and certainly shaded outdoor areas with fans and misting. Okay, so I don't know if any of you have been to Bali, but if you look at the sort of historical architecture, this is the sort of thing that a lot of buildings do anyway. There's a few other pieces to the product. So glazing ratio feature helps explore how much glass would be appropriate for the building. So we explain, first of all, which factors would drive, would affect how much glass is appropriate, and then offer a best strategy and then a typical approach to the building design, and how much difference there might be in the amount of glazing that would be suitable. And then a user can come in and choose. So for example, in this school, let's imagine that they're using wooden frame glazing, and the main exploration, they know that they want to have single glazed or laminate, and the main exploration they want to see is how shading would affect how much glass they can have. Then you can see here, we have a filtered set of options which show different combinations of strategies, and how they would enable increased amount of glass on the building. And so obviously the more shading, in this climate that you use, the more glazing that you would be able to have, or that you would be able to have without doing other sort of energy efficiency measures. There's then a shading feature that uses a sun path diagram to explain when the sun is perhaps benign or overheating, and this is a location that's very close to the equator, and so it tends to have predominantly overheating sun that needs to be shaded on all the facades. So so then there are star ratings given to different strategies and design approaches to help people identify which type of shading strategy might be the best way to go. And you can click on the strategy and then see how that strategy actually blocks different parts of that sun. So someone can quickly come in and see for these different strategies what the shape of the projection, the reverse projection of that shading is going to be in terms of blocking the sun, and can quickly visually test and check which parts of the sky for this orientation are being blocked, and then understand why some strategies might not be as good as others. And of course, you can look at this for all the different facades, and the recommendations change depending on which facade that you're looking at using. We also have, so for example, if this was a school, for example, if I had a gymnasium or a sort of high volume space, how would I start with providing natural lighting in there? So we also help look at what the sky is like, the amount of sunshine, and then how that might lead to good strategies for bringing light into the building. And finally, there is a piece that looks at outside space and makes recommendations about what sort of interventions or strategies might be suitable outside. And as you can see here, what's being shown is that if you just had a space outside and you didn't have any treatment, then this dark green means it would largely be unusable. But if you applied a sunshade and air movement, for example, then the outside space would be usable for almost all of the year. So this could help an architect explain to an owner why it's a good idea in this location to invest in those strategies for their outside spaces. So that's the end of the demo. I think at this point now, I'm going to pass it to Aris to give a demonstration and talk about the other aspects of SketchUp 2021.
Perfect. Thanks, Andrew. And thanks, Sophie. Very, very exciting updates already, but we do have some more. So stick with us. Let me share my screen. Okay. All right. So hi, everyone. My name is Aris. I am a customer success manager here at SketchUp. And I have met most of you over the past couple of years in BizCamps. Unfortunately, we won't be able to do that this year, but I'm still very excited to talk to you and show you some of the stuff that we prepared for this year's release. I think what Andrew presented is a great example of our commitment to bring additional value to SketchUp by introducing completely new products like PreDesign, but my presentation is going to focus on upgrades and additions to our existing ecosystem that will improve usability. And I'm pretty sure that you will find them just as exciting. By the way, just let me introduce you to our new scale figure, Sumeli. She is a senior marketing manager here at SketchUp and a very, very valuable member of the team. So we're glad to have her represent the brand for 2021. Now, I'm going to get started with something that I'm personally very, very excited about, and it's finally public. So we have even hinted at a couple of years ago in Malta about bringing parametric capabilities in SketchUp, but they're finally here. So for a few years now, a dedicated team in New Zealand, we call our computational design group, has been working on a completely new functionality for SketchUp and the wider Trimble portfolio that will enable users to configure and soon create objects based on parameters. We call these objects live components, and as Sophie said before, it's a completely new kind of geometry, nothing to do with your regular components or dynamic components. Now, live components is the first feature released under a new program called SketchUp Labs. the SketchUp Labs program represents a new way that we will develop and release features. It is practically going to be an ongoing live beta program, and features that are going to be released under this program are not going to be completely fleshed out, but still under some kind of development. However, we will be releasing them early because we feel that they're already bringing value to our user community, but also, as Sophie mentioned earlier, to collect early feedback and prioritize future developments. Now, Live Components is going to be the first release under SketchUp Labs, but there are going to be some more coming throughout this year. So definitely stay tuned for that. Okay, so let's get started with Live Components. Where can you find them? What are Live Components? So the first place you want to go is 3D Warehouse, either on the web or straight inside SketchUp. And just click on that magnifying glass for bringing up the filter here. And on the left-hand side, just head over to Advanced, open up this drop-down menu, and you see that now there is a new menu here, Live Components. In fact, Live Components have been live for almost a week now. So, we have silently launched them. They're there, they're public. So just head over to Models, and you will see there a list of Live Components that our team has prepared. You will see here the SketchUp Labs team name. Now, you will also see this lightning bolt. This represents, designates that this is a live component. Now, when you click on one of those objects, it looks like a regular 3D Warehouse asset. However, you will notice that there is now a configure button right here, and the same button comes up when you hover over the image. When you click that, you will get a preview of your 3D Warehouse asset. You could spin it around as you could regularly do with any asset, any object in 3D Warehouse. But on the right-hand side, you will notice that there is a new list of parameters that practically allows a user to customize their object before they download it. Now you will see a number of drop-down menus, sliders and color pickers. And while the height, width, and depth is something that you could even do before with dynamic components, you can completely change the geometry, which is something that you couldn't do before. So, for example, I'm going to select round corner for this sour corner, and by switching the floor, I can make geometry appear or disappear. I can completely change the color of the tiles. I can even change the texture size, something that you couldn't do before with dynamic components. What is very exciting is that you can also customize subcomponents inside the live component. So in this case, I will select a different picture, something with a rainfall. Fantastic. And I can also change the material. I will select brush, and you will see that this material will be applied to multiple components at once. So you will see that the fixture will get it, the shelves, but also the water collector right there. And I can even make like other slider adjustments. And you will see that even the wire kind of like changes, which is quite exciting and impressive. Now, once you are done customizing, you can click download, and this object will come straight inside your SketchUp model. Now, those components are available to everybody in 3D Warehouse, depending on what version you are. However, it's only from 2021 moving forward that you will be able to customize those objects inside SketchUp as well. To do that, just click on that object, and there will be a configure button under Live Components, or you can right-click and configure Live Component, or simply double-click on your component, and that same configurator will come up with all the parameters that we saw before in 3D Warehouse available inside SketchUp. Now, the other thing about Live Components is that they share some common ground with regular components. So if I make an instance of this component, every changes I make on any of those, that will be reflected on all the instances. And if you want to make a unique instance, you do it exactly the same way that you would do with a regular component. Just right-click, make unique. But in order to customize this one, you have to relaunch the configurator. So just right-click, and that will launch again your configurator. And let's say for this example, I'm going to change the color. And just like that, we have two different configurations for that same live component. Now, as I mentioned before, the only live components that are currently available are the ones that you saw on the list that I showed you in 3D Warehouse. So people cannot still create them, they cannot author them. So you might rightfully ask, what are the use cases? How can people use that? So I just wanted to highlight a few use cases that we think are valuable and you can start talking to your customers about. The first one, of course, is architectural configurations. So imagine you have a building and you have a number of openings you want to populate with windows. Live components are great to just bring them in and adjust them to the right size, but also adjust to the right styling, right? So every window that you see here is just two live components configured in different ways. And apart from the sizing, you can also customize the amount of opening and even change the style completely to match your architectural design. There are a few other use cases that I wanted to mention. The other one is what we call constructability, right? So you can have this component of a wood framed wall, and by using that specific live component, you can make sure that whatever changes you're making to your openings, for example, the constructability of the component will stay intact. That means that I can select from a predefined size of studs in this example, or stud spacing, and any change I make to my door opening or my window opening will not affect the constructability of my component. The other obvious use case, of course, is rapid iteration in concept design. So let's assume you have this acoustic ceiling panel, and you can select a different type that fits better to your design. You can adjust the sizing, but you can even adjust parameters such as the spacing of those panels, or even control the distortion to achieve an aesthetic result that fits to your design project. The other example, of course, that comes to mind is building product configuration. You have this piece of furniture, and you can adjust the different dimensions. You can add shelves if you like, and download the version of the furniture that you want to use. And last but not least, this is my favorite possibly, is connecting pre-design that Andrew just showed you with live components. I have to reload that. So assume you're designing a school again, this time in Perth in Australia, and you have already set up your model right here, but you want to optimize the openings, the shading for the openings for two of those elevations. So you can go to pre-design, make the analysis, and go to the south elevation, for example, and pre-design suggests no shading or accurate. And if you click on accurate, it will also give you the dimension of the depth. And for the east elevation, it's automated blinds. So I have used this special live component that includes all the various options that pre-design suggests for shading. And I'm just going to double click on that and select from that option here accurate and specify 100 millimeters. And I'm going to go into the east elevation and select automated blinds as pre-design suggested. Now you see that sometimes the configurator takes a while to load. This is expected, and this is one of the reasons why it is released under SketchUp Labs. Now, with that, I'm going to head over to the next feature I want to talk about, which is tags and folder tags in SketchUp. Now, if you have kept track of our previous releases, you will know that back in 2020, we replaced layers with tags. And that was part of a wider strategy to encourage better model organization for our users. And tag folders is, step 2 towards that same strategy. So let me create a few tags here. You will immediately see in the tag tray that there is a new button that says Add Tag Folder and a search bar here. Now, if I click a tag folder, you see that I create a new kind of object, which is a folder. And if I select a couple of tags and drag them in there, those are getting nested underneath the tag folder. Another way to create folders and include tags inside them is to select a number of tags and click the tag folder. Those immediately go under there. And of course, you can also create nested folders. Now, to give you an example of how that could be practical for a user, I'm going to give you an example of a model that was created in an earlier version of SketchUp and a model that was created in 2021. So you see in that same model, you have a very long list of tags here that are really hard to manage. While on the right-hand side, we have the model, how it could be organized with the new tag folder structure. And as I said before, you can, of course, do that by just selecting all the similar tags, for example, and put them under a folder. Or you can take advantage of the new filtering and search that we have introduced in the tags tray. And let's say we want to do the same thing for restaurant. I'm going to just type restaurant. So all the tags that have the restaurant prefix are going to be highlighted, and I can select them and group them. Same thing for greenhouse, etc., etc. Now, that allows you to really quickly be able to control the visibility of the different aspects of your design, and even save that under scenes. So you can have the site, and you can phase out the project using folder tag visibility to visualize, to enable or disable any parts of your design. Now, with that, I'm going to go to the last feature I'm going to talk about, which is tag folders in layout. And again, if you have kept track of our releases last year, you will have noticed that in our point releases, in fact, we have introduced some incredible functionality in layout, practically allowing you to just take one viewport and control the visibility of all the tags, but also control the visibility of line styles. And with 2021 release, we also add on top of that the ability to control visibility of tag folders. Now, to give you a quick overview of what I mean, is that now when you have the SketchUp viewport, there are all those sub menus here allowing you to override anything from the camera to the style to tags. And what I mean by that is that you can now switch on and off stuff straight inside layout without having to create an endless number of scenes inside SketchUp. And on top of that, if, for example, you want to customize the way that one of the tags look, you can do that. So, for example, here I'm going to make the residential buildings tag look, have a dash line and a lighter color, and even a thinner line. Okay, so just like that, I made this building to have this kind of like lighter feel to it. So it's easier to highlight aspects of my project. So by combining line styles and visibility of tags and tag folders, you can really quickly end up with a result like this, where everything that you see here is made with just one viewport in SketchUp. So in this case, I have enabled everything except the greenhouse layer tag, sorry, right here. And this floating greenhouse is exactly the same viewport with everything disabled except from the greenhouse. Now, a couple of things before I wrap up and hand it over to Sophie. And Sophie mentioned that in the beginning, there are two other updates that are quite important. One is the fact that any updates, any point releases that are coming in this year, they will be accessible for download and install directly from SketchUp. So if you go to help, there is a check for update button here, and that will check if any point releases are available. It will download and install automatically. And the last thing that is really, really exciting is what Sophie said earlier, the versionless format. So that means that from version 2021 moving forward, it doesn't really matter what version of SketchUp you have. If you have 2021, any future versions, any file saved under a new version will be accessible from 2021. Now, I encourage you to go and read the release notes. There are more stuff there. There are more bug fixes. And we would love for you to also join the SketchUp Labs program and give us some feedback on live components and whatever is coming, whatever else is coming this year. And with that, I'm just going to hand it over to Sophie for some more updates on marketing.
Thanks, Aris and Andrew. Super exciting stuff. And great to see. All right. We are providing the following marketing content to support the launch of SketchUp 2021. And we invite partners to use this content as a basis for their localized marketing materials. One of our goals for this launch was to provide partners with a more robust campaign to market the new version that has a little bit more longevity than a few weeks post-launch, kind of as we've structured these in the past. So keep that in mind as you're reviewing the materials. We want to be telling the story of the new version over a longer period of time in a way that's a little bit more similar to our industry campaign format versus past product launches. And don't worry, this is supported with even more content from our team. All of this is included in the launch guide, which we will make sure is linked out here when we share the slides in the recording. And I just want to spend a few minutes admiring the new imagery and the new hero model that partners also have access to through Demo Warehouse. It's also linked in the partner guide. Here is our new hero imagery and the new hero model for 2021. So this will get updated on all of our marketing collateral, websites, emails, ads, etc. And the idea of this building is a greenhouse cafe, which I've never been to, but after seeing this, I'd very much like to go. And with that, we're going to open the floor up for questions. So I am going to take a look at the chat, but feel free to also unmute yourself and go ahead and ask questions, or if you feel more comfortable, pop it in the chat.